we will start the session, sir.
Great, please do.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Curiosity Talks, curated by Wisdom Circle. These are sessions which are full of wisdom by Wisgen, for Wisgen, and for youth. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with Wisdom Circle, we are one of the largest global platforms that connects retired professionals to relevant work engagements. And it is wonderful that you all are here with us this evening. And I would encourage you all to sign up also and register with Wisdom Circle so that you continue to receive these invitations for Curiosity Talks. Our speaker here this evening is a man of many skills and talents. Mr. Kundan Sen brings with him an experience of 30 plus years in IT services, 10 plus years in education technology, and more than 5 years as a yoga learner and coach. He has also been an entrepreneur for most of his professional life. Today, he enlightens us with an insight into life transformations on his professional journey. And what you will take away with you this evening is going to be clarity, confidence, and character. And so I hand it over to Mr. Sen. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate your giving this opportunity. So let me start by sharing the screen. If we have a minute, then I will start with a small prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhaga Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. With that, I request all of you to just a minute. Why is my screen not moving? Yeah. So as we start, I want you to think a little bit. We call it activity 1. Whom or what do you love most? It could be a person, it could be a thing, it could be an animal, it could be anything. While we are discussing and going ahead, I want you to just mull over this particular question, and later on we will see what relevance it has with our today's topic. So I request all of you to mull over this and give your answers in the chat so that we can later on take out all the answers and have a very meaningful discussion. So with that, let's go on to my life story. And somewhere in the introduction, it was mentioned that, how Cosmos helped me to come out of hopeless situations in life. So I just want to give you an indication of what kind of hopelessness I had faced. Very briefly. I failed twice in my academics career. Once in school, where I failed in all subjects in class 9, and I was almost thrown out of the school. Another one later on, where the failure was not that great, but it was still a failure. I became a financial pauper twice in my professional life due to influences beyond my control. I was threatened with rustication from school, college 3 times, one in school, one in college, and once in IIT. I was once given a death threat And another time I was given a warning that if I don't change, I will get a death threat. I had two near fatal accidents. Obviously, I escaped. So there are many situations in which I was, and at that point in time, it felt that, I may not be able to come out of it, or I don't know what to do, and things like that. Now, I want to give you the good news. The good news is the cosmos had a very significant influence in some of these situations that I mentioned, and took me out of those places in a way that only cosmos can do. At that point in time, or at those points in time, it was beyond my comprehension. It is only through mulling over my life over a long period of time that I came to this understanding that whatever happened due to certain other things, and we will come to that. So again, I want you to think of your life and see if your life has been changed by the cosmos in any way, either positively or negatively. Meaning you were doing good, suddenly something happened and things went downhill, or you were, down and you got lifted up. So with that, let me tell you two small stories. I will stop sharing. Sri Shishir Ranjan Raichaudhuri has been my teacher. He was the hostel superintendent in a village school where I was sent when I was in class 10 and 11. He never taught me a single subject. He was actually a physical training instructor, but my relationship with him was because he was the hostel superintendent. Now, as I told you, I had failed in all subjects. And as a result of that, I had to leave home and come to this village from Calcutta. And it was a really bad situation. Every morning when I got down from my bed, I had to check if there are snakes on my floor mat and things of that kind. Now here, I don't know what happened. I don't know what he saw. But when I was in class 11, 6 months before my final exam, we had puja holidays. And Shishir Babu, he said that you are not going home during the holidays. Now, not going home during the holidays for a school student is disastrous, particularly when things like Durga Puja is happening in Calcutta and all family and everybody is gathering together. But he was such a personality that there was nothing that I could say. If he said you are not going, that means you are not going. He was strict, and his love and care was never expressed verbally. But I stayed back, he stayed back, and because I was staying back, another friend, another hostel mate was staying back. During that whole period of holidays, except a few days when I was allowed to go home, he was there cooking for the three of us. We had a small garden, so he was doing the gardening, picking out the cauliflowers and the cabbages and things of that kind. We had cows, so he will milk the cow. So basically, he acted as the cook cum security cum guide cum mentor, but he never taught me anything. He was just there. He did the same during the Christmas vacations. And I can tell you that by the time the final exam came, I was not one bit tense because of my, now I realize it was sadhana because there was no distraction in my life during those weeks that I really had understood. And also due to the genetic advantage that I had, that I was talented academically, I had no worries about my exam, and I did well. And the day the results came out, early morning, Shishir Babu came to our house with a huge bowl of rasgullas and a gadget or a booklet in which the marks are given. And I found that I was number 33 in West Bengal. Call it providence, call it cosmos, call it luck, call it whatever it is. But it is something that happened which I cannot explain. Those days I didn't even realize what was happening, but it happened. And because of that, obviously, my career, my life went into a kind of progression that would not have happened if this gentleman had not given me. He is still alive, and I'm hoping to meet him very soon in the next few months. He is 90 years old now, and his voice is still full of love when I talk to him. Now, let me tell you the second story. I had become a pauper. I was in UK. I was setting up a company in the UK. And then 9/11 happened. And my whole business that I was just about to set up crashed. Because the first order was basically all supplying people to British Airways. And you know, after 9/11, all the airlines went in for a tailspin. And so a few days later, the client called me and said, Keki, can we terminate the contract? I didn't even know that a verbal contract in the UK is also a contract. So I said, yeah, there is no, because we hadn't signed anything yet. But anyway, I was back in India, and I was trying to do small things. Those days, you know, if you recall, those of you who were in profession those days, market was down. There was nothing happening in the market. I was 50-year-old in a city called Calcutta, which is not very highly professional when it is compared to other places like Mumbai and Delhi and Bangalore. And I had 2 kids and a little bit of home loan, and there I was. There is no prospect of seeing money coming my way. There is no job that I can get. There is no contract I can get. So roaming around without knowing what I'm going to do, how I'm going to bring up my kids, how I'm going to repay my home loan, and so on and so forth. But one thing I continued to do was I continued to attend conferences or seminars because, you know, in my profession, IT, everything changes every few years. So whether you are in good position or bad, you have to keep learning. So I used to attend conferences. In one of those conferences, I bumped into Dr. Shubir Roy. He is no more. We were together in a IT subcommittee of the CII West Bengal chapter. So I just bumped into him and we said hi, hello, and he asked, what are you doing? He was the director of NIC, National Informatics Center. So he asked me, what are you doing? So I told him, I am doing nothing. So he said, hold on. I said, what happened? He said, are you here till evening? I said, yeah. There is free food, so I'm going to be available. I have already paid for the conference. So he laughed and said, okay, you hang on. So in the evening, he introduced me to somebody who immediately gave me a fantastic job in an educational institution. And that started my journey towards educational technology. Though I didn't do it then, I did it after a few years. But it brought me into that whole new world of education technology and education, which has been my passion all my life. So again, how I met him, why I met him, you have to see. But this is how Cosmos really helped me in my life. So these are the 2 people who influenced my life in a very, very positive way. And I will request Swati ma'am to look at any responses that we have got where the participants have also been positively or negatively influenced by the Cosmos. And at some other point in time, we will discuss that.
Would you like to talk about it now, sir, or later?
Later, after we do a little bit of things.
Right, sure. I think Mrs. Sarbani Sen had her hand up. Ma'am, is there anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, fine. Let's find out how to find that out. That's my elder sister.
Okay.
You want to find out how? What is she saying?
Yeah, so ma'am, would you like to say something? Because she had raised her hand. Okay, we'll continue now for now, sir. Later, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Now, I want to come to something which is talked about and which is understood by some people and highly misunderstood by a whole lot of other people. Because, people who study science in our country or all over the world, we study science like I studied physics. We study what is now called Western science. And that science has its own basis, own starting point, own journey, own discoveries, own visions, and it has progressed. People who study and understand Vedanta are another set of people who study Vedanta, who study the Vedas, the Vedangas, the Vedantas, and they go in a different way. Unfortunately, the culmination of both science and Vedanta is actually at the same place, and we do not see that much. There are not many people who are actually equating science with Vedanta and saying that they are basically the same. Only they are spoken of in different languages. The metaphors are different, the storytelling is different, the experimentation is different, the realization is different, but they are ultimately the same. So I just want to take you through one or two small examples. Werner Heisenberg was a founding father of quantum physics. And quantum physics that he was a part of developing is still valid. Science keeps developing, and today you have one theory, and tomorrow another theory will come, and that will override this theory because the present theory does not answer all the questions. So a better theory will come. And then again, after some time, that theory will be superseded by some other theory. That is how science progressed. So Heisenberg, he was born in 1901. So he, along with a few others whose names I will take later, was one of the founding fathers of quantum physics. And we still use a whole lot of his concepts, which are valid even today. And he was really looking at asking questions. So he came to India and he met Tagore at Shantiniketan. And then he asked this question. While discovering the smallest particle of matter, now it seems that the notion of matter is a myth. Then what is the reality? Now I just give you a small caveat. This question, the way it has been framed, it may not be actual history. Because I have got it from a website, this question and the answer. But the moral of the story will remain the same, whether the question language was same or different, doesn't matter. And Heisenberg did meet Tagore more than once. So even if the question framing is incorrect, the theme and significance will remain. So now let me go to the next part. So when Tagore heard this question, that what is the reality? Is matter real or unreal? He was, Tagore was a visionary and he was a knowledgeable person and he was a poet. So he said, Yadidam sakalam vishvam nana rupam pratitama jnanat tat sarvam brahmaiva pratyasta shesha bhavana dosam. What it basically means. This is from Vedanta analysis or bhashya by Adi Shankaracharya from his book called Viveka Chudamani. So it means that the entire universe, which out of ignorance appears to be of diverse forms, is in fact Brahman alone. The rest are limitations of thought. So this is a Vedantic thought or a Vedantic piece of wisdom that Tagore passed on to quantum physicist Heisenberg, which says that there is just Brahman, which takes different forms, and we see them as different things because we don't see Brahman out of our ignorance. So when we remove that ignorance, we will be able to see Brahman, and we see all this because our thought is limited. Now, what is the impact that this had on Heisenberg? That is very important because Heisenberg is a hardcore Western physicist, very modern. He was doing experiments which were, he was bringing out theories which were being proven by experiments with state-of-the-art equipments. So he was not in a frame of mind where he accepts anything and everything. So what is the impact he had, this verse had on Heisenberg? Many years later, 43 years later, Heisenberg was speaking with Fritz Capra, and this is what he said. This is from Capra's book, The Tao of Physics. He says, after the conversations about Indian philosophy, some of the ideas of quantum physics that had seemed to be crazy suddenly made much more sense. So now you see how Vedanta and science, they are fundamentally similar, or they have a lot of similarities. The only thing is you need to see it from the right angle, from the right perspective. So this is what Heisenberg understood. He realized that cosmos has relativity, interconnectedness, and impermanence. We all know theory of relativity, Einstein, general theory of relativity, special theory of relativity. Now, these concepts are embedded in Vedanta. I'm not getting into the details because this is a 1-hour session. But the most important, not the most important, very important is the second one called interconnectedness. This is the theory that is now in physics gaining tremendous momentum. Being interconnectedness means it says that anything that happens will have a repercussion. This is the theory that people are currently promoting. 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics. There are 3 people who got them. They got them because of experiments that they conducted in the 1980s. And it is only understood now, has some relevance to this particular concept of interconnectedness. Let me just explain it with what we understand from Vedanta. We hear the word called karma, meaning whatever you do, you will, get the result of that, whether it is a reward or a punishment or whatever. Now, that is a Vedantic philosophy, and Western philosophers or Western scientists, they were originally not agreeing to it. So if I do something here in Bangalore today, like burn one piece of paper, what impact will it have somewhere in the Western Hemisphere, let's say in San Francisco or in UK, in London or wherever? Vedantic philosophy said karma is always there. It will impact you and it will impact the rest of the cosmos. But this was not understood by physicists now. It is only now that this concept is coming up. And the concept of interconnectedness and repercussions of any action, don't go to Newton's law, repercussions of action which is interconnected, that is, whatever action you do here, it is connected to the rest of the world, is now becoming understood slowly by the physics world or the scientific world. Similarly, if you go to impermanence, we have always said that the whole world is a Maya, it's an illusion, and it is not what we see it as. But in the world of Western science, what is there is there. So in a materialistic world, a matter is a matter. But today, even that concept, physics has slowly started discarding, and they're saying that what you see is not what it is. It is only because you see it. So let's not get into the details, because that will become a, science and Vedanta, a lot of detailed discussion. But I just want to give you a glimpse that what we had in Vedanta, or what we have in Vedanta, the physics or the scientific world is slowly trying to understand and get to the bottom of those concepts slowly. Just to give you a glimpse of how Upanishads, which is the Vedanta, how Upanishads influenced the scientific world, I have listed 6 names. They are all famous scientists of the Western world. So just like Heisenberg gave the principle of uncertainty, Schrödinger, Oppenheimer, Niels Bohr, Carl Sagan, etc., they are all pioneers in nuclear physics. Oppenheimer was the creator of the atom bomb, and he was an ardent reader of Gita. So was Schrödinger and Carl Sagan and Tesla and so on and so forth. So the Western modern hi-fi physicists are influenced directly by Upanishads. They have read it either directly or through translation, in whichever way. Translations is not the good way of reading it, but somehow they have read it. They try to extract some meaning out of Upanishads, and they have been influenced by it. Again, this is from a website, these names. If you want to look at them, I will share the website names. You can see how each one of them have been influenced by our Vedantic thought. Sorry. So now we come to, now you have understood that what you do, karma, has a repercussion on everybody else. And when we say interconnectedness, it is not that I eat food and I grow. Whatever I do has an impact on everything. So I will now request Madam Swati to, see if anybody wants to discuss this.
Sure, sir.
And see what are the responses we have got.
Can I request anyone who has something to share on how the cosmos has changed anything in their life's journey, in their professional journey, personal journey? We would love to hear something so that this becomes an interactive session. I don't want to be like the teacher who points out to a student and says, "Will you say something?" So I'm sure all of us have been on interesting journeys. We are at the age that we are, where we have been through so much. Mr. Purushottam, sir, would you like to speak about it, please?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I'm also a follower of Vedantic philosophy. And
Sir, can I request your video to be on if it is possible?
no, I prefer not to keep my
All
video
right.
on.
Okay, no problem, sir. No problem.
So, and these are all in hindsight. You do not realize this when the event happens. It's when you reflect back on it and you think about it, you realize whether you call it cosmos, whether you call it God, whether you call it infinite intelligence, whether you call it nature, I think it's all one and the same. So my life, multiple times, the cosmos has influenced me. So one thing is, I was always, and I am till now also, very finicky about money. So money is a sore thumb in my life. I fret about it a lot. I think about it a lot. I worry about it quite a lot.
Hello.
And hello. Yeah, I
Please,
worry
sir,
about
please.
it. I worry about it quite a lot. So money has been a sore sticking point in my life. But now when I realize, now when I look back upon my life's journey, I realize that the cosmos has given me money when I was really desperate about it. So one event I can recall is I was building a house and I'd taken a home loan from a bank. And the contractor told me there are some extra expenses and I didn't have the money for that. So I went to the bank and told them to give me another loan, a bigger amount. And they refused. So I was wondering what to do. You know, when you're building a house, you can't leave it half built. Suddenly, I received news that my father-in-law had given some property to my wife and he has sold it, and that amount he is willing to put in the house. So this came out of the blue, and at that time I didn't think much about it. I just went on with life. But the second time it happened. The second time it happened when I was running very low on finances. I was running extremely low on finances, and I was going and telling this to everybody that I don't have money, I don't have money, I don't have money. And then suddenly I got a house in Bombay gifted to me by my mother, and I sold it, and that sum was now taking care of my retirement. So this is the part about money. When I look at health, also similar things.
Yeah, I think we can. Thank you very much, Mr. Purushottam. It was really nice, and money is something dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So, artha is definitely part of our objective in life or something to be achieved. So, thank you, Mr. Purushottam.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for sharing, sir.
Sure, sir.
So would
Sure,
you,
madam.
Mr. Sen, would you like
Yeah.
anyone else to speak, or would you like to move ahead?
Let's move ahead because we have to cover a few very interesting things.
Okay.
And in fact, what I am going to cover next is extremely surprising. So I want to ask a simple question. How ancient is our civilization? You know, there are many discussions as to when India or Bharat or whatever, I don't want to get into controversies. How old is this civilization? No, some people say 5,000 years, 3,000 BCE. Some people say 6,000 years. Mesopotamian civilization, Babylonian, Greek, Chinese. So there are all kinds of civilizations and they have their dates. And the civilization, as far as this land is concerned, there are various estimates of, like the Aryan invasion theory says 1500 BCE, people came and then they made us civilized, and so on and so forth. So it's a question that has come up over and over again in the last few years because a lot of people are saying that this civilization is older than what was originally thought. So I just want to bring out one fact. There are many facts, and I have given references to Swati ma'am. So if you look at them, you will see how some books have been proven to be, scientifically proven to be as old as 14,700 years old. But right now, I want to give you something which is just about coming out in the last 1 or 2 years. there is Professor Ramaswamy of Bharati Darshan University. He is doing a fantastic study on the port town of Pumpuhar, which is on the Tamil Nadu coast. So what he is doing is, he and his team, is that they are using sonar technology, exploring the sea away from the coast to see if there is anything available. Pumpuhar, I will show you in the next slide, which currently is underwater. The settlement was created about 2000 years ago, and about 1000 years ago, it went underwater. Because we know that, the glacial maximum takes away all the water into the glaciers, and when the ice age ends and the heat wave starts, then all those waters come down. So the sea level goes up and down cyclically every 10-12,000 years. And there are many examples and many scientific facts to see what is the cycle and so on and so forth. Now, what Professor Ramaswamy is doing is that he has gone way beyond the 1 or 2 kilometers of coastline, away from the coastline into the sea. He has gone many kilometers. So let me show you an image. This is from his presentation. I have called it out. Now here you will see, it may not be very easy to see, but the one at the right bottom, there is a circle that's called P1. The one to the left top of that is called P2. Then there is P3, and then on the coast is P7. And inside there are P4, 5, and 6. Now what are these? What they have found out through their sonar studies, which is well funded by Department of Science and Technology and others, is this. They found that about 2000 years back, there was a settlement with a man-made harbor, which is 4 kilometers away from the current coastline. And that construction, that harbor and that that settlement is 8 meters underwater. That means 2000 years ago, this port was situated 4 kilometers away from the coast, and which is now 4 meters underwater. Fine. But what he found is even more amazing. He also found, which is P3 now, P3 is dated to be about 8,000 years old. It is 8 kilometers from the coastline now, and it is 18 meters underwater. So P3 is also a settlement and a man-made harbor. So man-made harbor and settlement means there must have been movement of ships. Because if you want only domestic travel, you will use rivers. So you will have one kind of vessels for that. When you have a port on the sea and you have man-made harbor and settlement, obviously those are sea-going vessels. Now imagine 8,000 years ago, we were making boats and ships which were going to the ocean. We can only guess as of now. His study is continuing, so we do not have final answers. But we can only guess that if 8,000 years ago, we have a man-made port 8 kilometers away from the current coastline, and it is 18 meters underwater, obviously there were ships that we made. And 8,000 years is something that no other civilization that we talk about is beyond that. So 8,000 years ago, there are civilizations which are 6,000 BCE, which is 8,000 years ago. So this parallels those civilizations. Then there is something even more startling. P2, which is further away, is 22 kilometers away from the current coastline, and it is 50 meters underwater. and this is 10,000 years old. That means 8,000 BCE. And let me take you to P1. This study says that 100 meters underwater, 30 kilometers from the current coastline, was this harbor, which is dated to be 20,000 years old. 20,000 years ago, India was conducting ocean-going business, trade with whichever other civilizations that existed at that time. If this particular study, once it is finalized and peer-reviewed and published and all that, parts are already being published because this is going on for the last 2, 3, 4 years, then we can easily conclude that this civilization is at least 20,000 plus years old. So all the understanding that we have of our Vedic literature being written down 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, we have to understand that the civilization existed long before that. Because a seagoing vessel and a port and a harbor is not something to be trifled with. It is something very, very, it's a sign of great achievement that you not only know how to build ships 20,000 years ago, you have trade and commerce with people we don't know yet 20,000 years ago. 20,000 years ago, to the best of my knowledge, I am not a student of history, there is no other civilization that came to prominence. Any of the civilizations that we talk about or know about are not 20,000 years old. So I want you to ponder, and there are reports and videos available. I have given links. You can look at them. So think of your nation at least 20,000+ years old, not 1500 BCE when the Aryans came and civilized us and educated us and so on and so forth. What implication it has, only time will unfold because a lot more study is required. I picked out this study because this is a study where I'm finding evidence of 20,000-year-old history, 18,000 BCE. So with that, let me now move to the next point, that you have 4 ports and there are 3 others. If you see those blue lines, those are, salt water areas. So the sea went back to P4 and then came forward. The sea went back and forth, back and forth. But imagine the diligence of the people 20,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, and so on, that over such a long period of 18,000 years, we had management, decision-making, funding, technology, manpower to keep operating these ports. Even when they went underwater, we built new ports. Either we moved forward or we moved backward. If you can find a parallel in history, please let me know. I have not found any other parallel where over a period of 18,000 years, we have built and rebuilt ports and harbors and obviously ships and other things over such long distance of 30, 40, 50 kilometers into the sea and away from the sea. Fine. So with that, let me move to the next point. If you recall that we had asked this question, whom do you love most? Why did we ask that question? And I hope we have some answers. May I request Swati ma'am to give us an idea of what kind of answers we have received?
So as of now, nobody has posted in chat. So I request you all to do that. Whom or what do you love the most? Could you just post that in the chat, please? Mr.
I love myself.
I like your answer very much.
Learning new things. Peaceful life. Keep answering. Let's see some more answers. I'm sure we love, our hearts are full of love. So creative writing, fantastic. Because without love, it is very difficult to have a life which is fulfilling. So please keep responding. Helping others, lovely. Right. So with that, let us go back to our discussion. One person answered, I love myself the most. Then we have helping others, creative writing. I love the wisdom here and so on. So the reason I asked that question, and probably the reason why many of us have not responded, is that, loving is not a straightforward thing that we can relate to all the time. I love myself, I love my wife, I love my son and daughter, So our love is distributed all over the place. I love to eat a particular food, I love to go to a particular place, I love my pet dog, So the sky, the tree, the love gets distributed. And once love gets distributed, our focus gets distributed. Once our focus gets distributed, unfortunately, whatever had to be achieved is not fully achieved. It's not attained because we have distributed. What I'm saying is not negative. Let me bring you back to, because we want to now discuss a little bit about yoga and see where this question has relevance. Yoga, we will see, is only about yourself. Yoga has got nothing to do with anybody else. It is loving yourself and doing things for yourself. Let me bring it up for you. In our Vedanta, as well as the current understanding of physics that we have, the universe exists because you exist. If you did not exist, there is no universe for you. So this is a Vedantic thought, Maya, and it is also the current philosophy of science, because the current philosophy of science is also saying that the observer actually creates the observed. So I'll not go into the physics, but I'm saying that love yourself. And this is the key thought for yoga. When we talk about yoga, basically we are talking about ourselves. And Patanjali is the one who actually documented the Yoga Sutras. So let us start the discussion on yoga by, really paying our respect to sage or Rishi Patanjali. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarottam pravadam muninam patanjalim pranjali ranatosmi. Yogena chittasya, meaning the ultimate Muni, Patanjali, whom we pray to, he did three things that is mentioned here. Yogena chittasya, padena vacham, malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena. So what it is saying is, he helped us with our chitta through yoga. He helped us with our vacham, meaning our bhasha, through Pada, because he wrote a bhashya on Panini's grammar. And he helped us to clean the impurities of our body through Vaidya, medicine. So Patanjali sage actually wrote 3 treatises. One is on yoga, one is on bhasha, and one is on medicine. So let's go to yoga proper. And why am I so keen, and why am I talking about yoga? We do not have much time, Swati ma'am. So I will be very brief here.
Yes, sir.
Because we have another 8 or 9 minutes to
Yes.
go.
Yes.
So I'll be very brief. What has happened is, when I was in school in that hostel, I had some difficulties. And my father was a doctor. Those days, you didn't have so many specializations, but he was a chest specialist. And when I had those difficulties, I came back home during holidays and told him. He asked me to go and visit Yoga Guru, Ironman Nilmani Das. And that's how I got introduced to yoga. And then I, whatever I did during school days, college days, then I went on to my life, professional life, and I lived my professional life without yoga. And I was, a bhogi. I used to consume, I used to eat, I used to drink, I used to do all kinds of things, I used to smoke. And ultimately, I became a rogi. From head to toe, I have diseases. If I list out those diseases, they'll be surprised that I'm still alive and how am I alive. But towards the end of my professional life, the last 8, 9 years, 10 years, I started going back to yoga due to the ailments. And after I closed down my last company, I went wholehearted into yoga. And I can tell you, when I came back home after closing down my last company, I was not able to get out of bed because if I get out, I will fall down. My legs will not hold me. I could not breathe properly. I could not walk. Forget about climbing stairs. I could not drive a car. So I was almost on bed. And 3.5 hours every day, I used to practice yoga. The first few months. Slowly, I got back to, I think this is 2018. Slowly, I got back and then I started doing other things and exercises. Today, I cycle 90 kilometers on my 72nd birthday. Last New Year's Eve, I cycled 200 kilometers. I do weightlifting. I walk upstairs. I never use the lift and all that, all because of yoga. And not only me, I'm a yoga coach because I help a whole lot of other people who have also been through situations like me. People are facing difficulties and I work with them and some of them come back in a very, very positive way into normal life. So yoga, as far as I'm concerned, is not an exercise, is not a religion, it is life. Whatever else you do, you earn money, you eat food, you have family, you have all those are parts of life. Yoga is life. So here, Swati ma'am, I will just quickly go through the slides, not elaborate. Maybe
Sure.
we can discuss these things some other time.
Okay.
Because I want to leave at least a few minutes for question answer.
Yes.
So I
We
will
have
just
5
go
minutes.
through. Yeah. So I'll just go through the slides just to give an idea that we have what is called Pancha Kosha, out of which 2 parts, Anna and Annamaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha are related to what is called Bahiranga, the body. And the other 3 parts, other 3 koshas called Manamaya Kosha, Jnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha are related to what is called Antaranga or inside, that is Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, and Aham. So yoga is also actually structured and oriented in that way. So the Bahiranga consists of Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, and the Antaranga consists of Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So we will skip this activity called deep breathing. And Swati ma'am, I just want to spend 2 minutes on answering one question as to what is Dharma. Now there is a lot of confusion about what is Dharma, what is religion, this religion, that religion. I want to clarify it to you. I want to make it crystal clear to you that Dharma, as far as our Vedanta is concerned, and Dharma, as far as one part of that through Yoga Sutra is concerned, has got nothing to do with religion the way we call it. This Dharma and that Dharma. Dharma is very simply a prescription of how you lead your life. Dhriti kshama damoyasteyam socham indriya nigraha dhir vidya satyam akrodha dashakam dharma lakshanam. So these are the 10 things that indicate that you are dharmic. Dhriti kshama damo asteyam socham indriya nigraha dhi vidya satyam akrodha. These are the 10 parameters or indicators or practices of Dharma as far as Vedanta Manusmriti is concerned. And if you go by Yoga, again we have seen Yoga, Yama, Niyama. Again they have these 10 which are not exactly the same as what is given in the Smriti, but a lot of them are common. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Parigraha, Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas, Swadhyaya, and Ishvara Pranidhana. So Dharma is a way you lead your life. Yama is how you lead your life with respect to the rest of the world. Niyama is how you lead your life for yourself. With that, Swati ma'am, I want to close my presentation. I thank all of you. And if there are any questions, we can discuss that.
Thank you, sir. Would you stop share? Yes. I welcome any feedback or anything that anyone would like to discuss, or if there are any questions specifically that you would like to ask Mr. Sen, because he covered a lot of material, a lot of it, some of us are not familiar with, some of us may be partly familiar. So any comments, any sharing is welcome here. I know I can see there are some of us here who are yoga experts also. My own yoga guru is here this evening. So I think Mr. Purushottam has something to share, sir.
Yeah, he said he's in the same position as I am.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he wrote.
Can I ask a question here, sir?
Yeah, please.
So I want to ask a question to all of you. Once we reach a particular age in life, do we then start looking at Dharma as part of the changes that we need to make in our lives? Is anyone here to answer?
So Debjani is saying we need more session on Dharma. Swati ma'am, you brought out a very critical point. Is Dharma for the aged? Unfortunately, no. Dharma starts at conception.
Okay.
Dharma starts at conception. That's what we call samskara. So the dharmic philosophy, that is all these 10 things that we discussed, it has got nothing to do with any god or religion or anything. It is just a way we live life.
Yes.
And if you look at, let's say, the 10 commandments of the Christian philosophy, I have a document where I have mapped all 10 of those into 1 or 2 or 3 of the Dharma here.
Okay.
Except the first 4, which are related to pray to me and all that, which is related to religion. The other 6 are mapped onto these 10 Dharma parameters that we have seen here. I have not studied other religion because 10 commandments is something that was easy for me, so I just compared it. So Dharma actually starts at conception and it ends with when life ends. It's a way of life, and if the whole humanity will become peaceful if we do things like asteya, meaning I don't try to steal from you.
Right.
Can you imagine with just one thing, asteya, the whole world will be a different world. And that is the original purpose of Dharma.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, things have got convoluted. Things have, been misunderstood. Some have been deliberately, pushed onto us, and so on and so forth. So the concept of Dharma has got diluted, and today it is not practiced. But if we practice Dharma from conception till death, then that's what life is all about. That's what life should be all about.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. That carries a lot of meaning and a lot of weight. And obviously, we have to do a lot more reading and understanding. And on that note, unfortunately, the time has come to an end. And I'm sure all of us would like to connect on more sessions. I can see the questions are coming in now. Unfortunately, we don't have time in this session to answer it. But I will see if there is any way in which sir can address these questions. On that note, thank you, Mr. Sen. It was a wonderful 1 hour that you spent with us, giving us your knowledge and wisdom. And I'm sure we will come back to you for more. And thank you to all the guests and attendees here who have taken time off during their evenings to be with us. Thank you.
Thank you.